Vitamins and minerals. Vitamins are organic substances. They are also made up of carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. And these vitamins and minerals, which are the metals or metal ions, are the nutrients that your body needs to grow and develop. The minerals are the inorganic elements, are the inorganic components, whereas the vitamins are the organic components. Animals and humans absorb minerals from plants they eat. We do not produce any minerals. Neither do we produce any vitamins in our body. So, therefore, all the vitamins and minerals for the body's need have to be taken through the diet. Both vitamins and minerals play a very important role in human physiology, as you will see. So, the discovery of the first vitamin was published in 1911 by a Polish biochemist, and he called it a vitamine. And you see, so in many books, you still see the spelling as Vitamine, although all of us write it as vitamins without the E. It actually meant vita means vital, and amines, originally it was thought that these vitamins were organic compounds with an amino group in it. Per se, if you see, all the vitamins and the minerals, they do not provide you with any energy in terms of calories, but they only help to regulate the energy processes, that is, the breakdown of the food or breakdown of organic molecules or the synthesis, the anabolic processes for the synthesis of these compounds. So the main functions of vitamins are as cofactors in enzyme activity, and you will see as we go along that almost all the B vitamins have got some cofactor role in assisting an enzyme for different reactions in the metabolic pathways of the human body. The major cofactor role is in that of converting fat, carbohydrate, and protein and breaking it down to give you ATP, the energy currency. That is the currency which gives you energy. Also, the vitamins promote growth and reproduction. Some of the vitamins, that is like vitamin C and vitamin E, are antioxidants. So they prevent oxygen from doing damage to the body. Also, both vitamin C and vitamin E, the tocopherol, are permitted in the food industry or permitted by FSSAI to be added to foods as antioxidants. Another vitamin, that is vitamin D, is a prohormone. So it actually forms the backbone for the synthesis of a hormone. The deficiencies of the vitamins can result in potentially serious consequences. For example, vitamin A deficiency can cause night blindness or xerophthalmia. Vitamin C deficiency can cause skin problems and scurvy. The vitamin B12 deficiency can cause you anemia. So we will see each one of these. Usually, the requirement for vitamins is in the order of milligrams to micrograms that are needed per day. And these are essential for health. And you will see that some of the vitamins, the fat soluble vitamins, need not be taken every day, whereas the B complex vitamins or the water soluble vitamins are not stored in the body and so therefore have to be consumed on a regular basis or a daily basis. So the vitamin structure and function, the backbone of the vitamin is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and some vitamins contain nitrogen and sulfur, as you will see, like nicotinic acid, biotin, etc. The chemical structure of each vitamin is unique to itself. It doesn't have any backbone and they do not have any common structures. Each vitamin is a single unit or a singular unit. It does not form a polymer. And the vitamins are absorbed intact. They're not broken down into smaller molecules to be absorbed by the human body. And they perform numerous essential functions, and that is the reason that vitamins are essential. So naming the vitamins, actually the vitamins are named as A, B, C, D, E, K, uh, and they were named based on when they were discovered. And vitamin B has got many subscripts. The classification of the vitamins is only of one order, which is the fat-soluble vitamins or the water-soluble vitamins. So in the water-soluble vitamins, we have the vitamin B complex, the 7 vitamin Bs, and we have vitamin C. And the 4 fat-soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E, and K. And the solubility of the vitamin, either in water or in fat, actually influences the digestion, absorption, transportation, storage, and the excretion of that particular vitamin. So if you just look at the vitamin absorption and storage, you see the water-soluble vitamins. They are absorbed in the small intestine, both in the duodenum and in the jejunum, whereas the fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed only in the duodenum. The water-soluble vitamins are all hydrophobic, whereas the fat-soluble vitamins are all hydrophobic. They are absorbed, the water-soluble vitamins are absorbed directly into the blood, whereas the fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed into the lymph and then into the blood. Water-soluble vitamins are not stored in the body generally, whereas the fat-soluble vitamins are stored by the body. And so therefore, you don't need to take them every day. An example is vitamin D. You can take one capsule at the beginning of the month. That is the whole dose for the month. Vitamin A, E, and K are stored in the liver, whereas vitamin D is stored in the fat and muscle tissue. Water soluble vitamins, they can they can build up and become toxic, not generally, only if you overdo it, if you overdose yourself. But the fat soluble vitamins, because if you continuously take the vitamins above the recommended daily allowance, and there will be a buildup, and you can have hypervitaminosis. And because of these properties, the water-soluble vitamins, you have to take them every day regularly, and the fat-soluble vitamins, it is not necessary to take them every day. The bioavailability of the vitamins, if you compare the water-soluble and the fat-soluble are generally less bioavailable because you need fat for it to be absorbed. The water soluble are more bioavailable, and the vitamins from animal foods are generally more bioavailable than those from the plant foods, as you will see in the case of vitamin D. Destruction of vitamins. Many of the vitamins, especially the water soluble vitamins, are destroyed by exposure to air, exposure to UV and sunlight, to water, to changes in the pH, to heat and food preparation techniques. And so therefore you see that in the cooked, highly processed food, there is a large loss of the vitamins. So if you add vitamins, and if you fortify with vitamins, it should be added at the last step of food processing. On the other hand, the fat soluble vitamins tend to be more stable. They only tend to undergo oxidation, like the lipid peroxidation and destruction by light. But compared to water soluble vitamins, they are much more stable. As I said, vitamin toxicity can occur if you overdo and you take more than the recommended daily allowance. And if you look at the dietary reference intakes, given for an individual, please look at the recommended daily intake for vitamins, which is given by NIN. You will see that there they give a tolerable upper intake. That means they suggest to you that you should not take more than that level per day to prevent excess. But some of us think that taking more is better, and we tend to overdo and take excess vitamins. So let's come to each one of the vitamins and we look at their properties, their structure, their occurrence, and what is their function in human physiology. So vitamin A is actually retinol. It is the precursor of retinal, that is AL, the light sensitive group in rhodopsin and other visual pigments of the eye. It is fat soluble, so it is generally found in liver, fish, milk, fat, and egg yolk. So it is found as vitamin A in animal products. However, in plant products, it is not found as vitamin A, but it is found as a precursor of vitamin A, which, when consumed by the body, can get converted into vitamin A. Those include the carotenoids, beta carotene, and many of the other plant pigments which can be converted into vitamin A by the human body. Beta carotene, which you find in carrot and all the orange colored vegetables, can be converted to retinol, and it comes to an equivalent of 1 milligram of retinol. What are the functions of vitamin A? It is very essential for vision. So it is vital for good vision. So that is why if your eyes are bad, the doctor always prescribes taking vitamin A capsules or tells you to eat the yellow orange vegetables. So it prevents night blindness. It has antioxidant activity in the human body. It is necessary for healthy skin and hair growth, for the mucous membranes to be healthy, and it also promotes bone development. The deficiency of vitamin A causes night blindness and xerophthalmia, which is a condition in which the eye is absolutely dry. That means it doesn't produce water or tears, resulting in deformation of the eye. So this is the structure of retinol. So you see it has got OL. So that means it's got an alcoholic group over here, CH2OH. You look at beta carotene, the structure is there. You look at these alternating double bonds on this, and this chromophore is responsible for giving it its high lambda max, or the absorbance in the visible region. And more, I will tell you more about this when we have the class on plant pigments, and we can compare the pigments which have these alternating single bonds and double bonds. So just to show you the visual cycle and what is the role of vitamin A, that is retinol, in the visual cycle. So what you see here is the visual cycle, and this 11 cis retinol. Yesterday I have told you about the cis double bond and trans double bond. So here you have 11 cis retinol. This is the chromophore in the visual cycle, and it has three types. It forms a part of the chromoprotein of the cone cells, that is the three cone cells which are responsible for blue, green, and red, and of the rods in the retina. So in the dark, when it is dark, you will see that rhodopsin is formed from the opsins which are present. Rhodopsin is formed when it is dark, and you have 11S cis retinol. In the light, that is when light is available, the proteins, that is the opsins, dissociate themselves from the more stable all trans retinol and protein. The all trans retinol is then converted into the all trans retinol, the alcoholic form of it, and through intermediate 11-cis retinol, it is converted back into 11-cis retinol. So this is the visual cycle. So in the dark, you have rhodopsin forming. In the light, you have from rhodopsin, there is dissociation of the retinol. So you have 11-cis retinol in the dark and all trans retinol, which is responsible in the light. So this is the role of vitamin A, that is the retinol, in the visual cycle. Now let's come to vitamin D, which is known as the sunshine vitamin. And this is actually, it can be synthesized from cholesterol. So that is why it is said that, you know, you should expose yourself to sunlight. If you do not expose yourself to the sunlight, you're sure to have some vitamin D deficiency. So how is vitamin D synthesized from sunlight? So you can see we have the skin. So when you're exposed to sunlight, cholesterol is converted into 7-dehydrocholesterol. 7-dehydrocholesterol is converted into cholecalciferol, in that is vitamin D3 in the liver, and then it is converted into 25-hydroxy vitamin D3 in the kidney. And this is the bioactive form, that is the 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D3 is known as calcitriol, or it is the bioactive form, or it is a form of vitamin D which participates in all the reaction. So therefore, by sunlight, you can convert the cholesterol to vitamin D. But nowadays, we are most of the time within the building, sitting in front of the computer for 8 to 10 hours and have very little time to go to the sun to get the cholesterol to be converted into vitamin D. It can be obtained in the diet, especially from milk, and it helps to regulate the calcium and phosphorus metabolism. So therefore, most of the time, vitamin D capsules are given along with calcium and magnesium and phosphorus. Without calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, the vitamin D that you take will be of no help. So vitamin D is found in two forms, that is the vitamin D2 ergocalciferol and vitamin D3, which is the cholecalciferol. And cholecalciferol, that is the vitamin D3, is more bioavailable than vitamin D2. But because FSSAI has allowed fortification with vitamin A and vitamin D, but however, for fortification of vitamin D containing foods, FSSAI only allows vitamin D2, because vitamin D2, that is ergocalciferol, is from a vegetarian source. So if food is fortified with vitamin D3, the red dot has to be put, because vitamin D3 is obtained from the animal source. However, it is more bioavailable than vitamin D2. So the physiologically active form is calcitriol, that is 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D3. And a deficiency of vitamin D, you can see in this corner, causes rickets, or this bow legs, as we say, and there is a malformation of the bone, because both calcium and phosphorus and magnesium are required for healthy bone formation. So this is the chemical structure of the two forms of vitamin D, that is D2 and D3. So the difference between them, you can see, is there's a double bond here, whereas it is saturated here, and this carbon is methylated, where here it is not methylated. Otherwise, the structure of D2 and D3 are exactly alike. Now coming to the third fat-soluble vitamin, that is vitamin E, it comes from a group called tocopherols or tocotrienols. Of them, alpha tocopherol, that this structure here, alpha tocopherol is the most active. You get vitamin E from vegetable oils, from wheat germ, from whole grain products, and egg yolk. Vitamin E is a very strong antioxidant, especially tocopherol. It protects the cells against oxidative damage by free radicals and oxidation of lipids, and its deficiency causes neurological problems, although the deficiency of vitamin E is very rare. And many people take vitamin E supplements mainly because they say it improves the skin and prevents aging. So the role of vitamin E in the physiological role of this is it actually plays a role in the arachidonic acid to the prostaglandin pathway, where, if you recollect, I had told you about cyclooxygenase enzyme. It's an enzyme that converts arachidonic acid to the prostaglandin, and vitamin E, just like aspirin or the inhibits the cyclooxygenase, which is the first enzyme in the conversion of arachidonic acid to prostaglandin, leukotrienes, and thromboxanes. Vitamin K regulates the synthesis of clotting proteins, that is prothrombin, and its deficiency actually leads to excessive or fatal bleeding. So therefore, vitamin K, phylloquinone, is known as the anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. So the deficiency of vitamin K is characterized by increased bleeding and hemorrhage. It is found in foods from both plant and animal sources and is also made by the bacteria in the gut. So this is the structure of phylloquinone. It is not necessary for you to remember all the structures. However, out of interest, you should be able to recognize the structures of vitamins. So now let's come to the water-soluble vitamins. Among the water-soluble vitamins, the most popular among them is vitamin C or ascorbic acid. So vitamin C plays a major role in physiology and the upkeep of the body. And one is it helps to form collagen. So the first deficiency you see of vitamin C is the skin cracking, the collagen not being formed. You can see especially cracks at the sides of your lips. It helps in the growth and repair of body tissue and blood vessels. It prevents scurvy. It's a very strong antioxidant and used very commonly in foods to prevent the oxidation of fats and oils and the deleterious effects on the food. It aids in the absorption of iron, because you will see that when iron is to be absorbed, it must be in the ferrous state. And most of the plant iron, that is from the plant foods, the iron is in the form of ferric, that is Fe3+. So Fe3+ to be made bioavailable must be converted into Fe2+, and so therefore vitamin C is involved. And if you go back and look or ask your grandmothers or have observed at home, you will find that after cooking, when most of the food, especially the greens, palak and other things, at the end of cooking, you will see that you actually squeeze some lemon juice onto it, and that the science behind doing that, one, it is for taste, and the other is it will convert the ferric iron to ferrous iron and it will be absorbed. It helps in regulating the metabolism of cholesterol and thing. So I don't have to tell you the sources of vitamin C. All of you know that anything sour will have plenty of vitamin C, and this indicates that ascorbic acid, if you taste ascorbic acid, pure ascorbic acid, it will be as sour as possible. So amla gooseberry is one of the richest sources of vitamin C. All the citrus fruits, lemon, orange, musambi, grapefruit, all of them are very rich in vitamin C. So deficiency, you will see, you will feel weak. There will be slow wound healing, and that correlates because it is required for collagen formation. You will find bleeding gums and scurvy. Then comes to this big box of vitamin B, which is called as vitamin B complex, and there are 8 vitamins which make up the B complex. The hallmark of these B complex vitamins is that each one of these vitamins has a major role to play as a cofactor, and so as cofactors, their structures have the basic vitamin structure plus additional structure, and they behave as cofactors mainly in enzymatic reaction, as cofactors and coenzymes in enzymatic reactions. So let's look at the first one, thiamine. So thiamine is the vitamin B1. It is required for normal function of the nervous system. It serves as a coenzyme, and the coenzyme form of thiamine is known as thiamine pyrophosphate, or TPP, and it is involved in the oxidative decarboxylation reactions in carbohydrate metabolism. Those of you who know about the carbohydrate metabolism, you know that in the oxidation of glucose down to acetyl CoA, the final step is the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl CoA before it enters the Krebs cycle or the citric acid cycle. So thiamine pyrophosphate acts as a cofactor there in the conversion of the pyruvate to acetyl CoA, and in the conversion of alpha ketoglutaraldehyde to glutaryl CoA. The deficiency, it says, is causes beriberi. These were names given by the discoverers. So the symptoms of beriberi are weight loss, emotional disturbances, weakness, pain in the limbs, etc., and a disorder, which is a disorder of the nervous system, and it occurs in communities where white rice is mainly the food eaten. So this is the reaction in which thiamine, as thiamine pyrophosphate, acts as a coenzyme. So here you see pyruvate is converted um, into acetyl CoA. The carboxylation, the reaction takes place. So in oxidative decarboxylation, pyruvate is converted into acetyl CoA. In non-oxidative decarboxylation, pyruvate is converted into acetate and not to acetyl CoA. So thiamine pyrophosphate forms a part of the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which involves 2 enzymes and 3 coenzymes, that is TPP, lipoic acid, and flavin adenine dinucleotide. The other reaction is where alpha ketoglutarate is converted into glutaryl CoA. It also participates in a reaction which is termed as the transketolase reaction, where one ketose is converted into another, and this is dependent on pyrophosphate, that is TPP. Riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, is the yellow vitamin, because any vitamin or any compound which contains riboflavin will be yellow. It exhibits yellow fluorescence, and it's prosthetic. It is the prosthetic group of the flavin enzymes, that is enzymes which contain flavin mononucleotide and flavin adenine nucleotide. These two coenzymic forms are involved in the dehydrogenation reactions of succinate to fumarate in the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. The deficiency, there is no specific deficiency disease. However, low intakes lead to dryness and cracking of the skin around the mouth and nose. Sources are sorry about this. The sources are milk, eggs, wheat germ, liver, and green vegetables. So here is the structure of riboflavin. You have flavin mononucleotide, which has basically the riboflavin moiety, and the alcohol group of this is phosphorylated. That is flavin mononucleotide. In case of FAD, the flavin molecule is is an ester bond with adenine dinucleotide, the diphosphate. So the difference between FMN and FAD is this side chain over here. So the reaction that it participates in is in the citric acid cycle, that is the conversion of succinic acid to fumaric acid, where two hydrogen are removed and you have this double bond catalyzed by the enzyme succinate dehydrogenase. Then niacin, this is nicotinic acid. There are two forms of niacin. One is nicotinic acid and the other one is nicotinamide. Please do not confuse this with nicotine that you, which is the alkaloid which you get from tobacco. This is entirely different from that, and its function in the body is as the coenzyme NAD, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, which are involved once again in oxidation reduction reactions. That is, most of the reactions which are catalyzed by dehydrogenases. So when an enzyme reaction is there with a dehydrogenase, immediately you have to think there has to be either NAD or NADP or FAD, because without these three coenzymes, the reaction will not go to completion. It is required, again, the release of energy, that is the breakdown of the carbohydrates and lipids. It is required for normal structure of the skin and the mucous membrane. The deficiency is, there's a disease called pellagra. The symptoms are high sensitivity to sunlight, aggression, dermatitis, red skin lesions, and insomnia. Nicotinic acid is sometimes prescribed by doctors to treat high blood lipid levels, that is hyperlipidemia. So this is the structure compared to FAD, to flavin, to riboflavin. The structure of niacin is very simple. But when you look at the coenzymic form of the vitamin, so you have nicotinamide and you have the adenine dinucleotide. So this is adenine with the ribose, 2-phosphate, another ribose, and so you have NAD. So that is why it is known as nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, because there are two nucleotide moieties. NAD and NADP act as coenzymes for many dehydrogenase reactions where they are, and you will mostly see that NAD is required in or useful as a coenzyme for the dehydrogenases in the catabolic reactions, whereas NADP will be a coenzyme for the dehydrogenases in the anabolic reactions, that is in the synthetic pathway. So some of the examples for this, as you see, what I have put is you have lactate dehydrogenase, which converts lactic acid to pyruvic acid during anaerobic oxidation. That means when there is no air, the pyruvate will go into the will be converted into lactic acid, but when oxygen is present, pyruvic acid will be converted into acetyl CoA and it will go into the citric acid or the TCA cycle. So this reaction you see is catalyzed by lactate dehydrogenase. NAD is converted into NADH plus H plus. So lactic acid is oxidized to pyruvic acid. Another reaction catalyzed where NAD is a cofactor is the reaction catalyzed by alcohol dehydrogenase. So alcohol dehydrogenase, in which ethanol is converted to acetaldehyde or acetaldehyde is converted into ethanol. You see you have NADH2 is converted into NADH. So acetaldehyde is reduced to ethanol. So generally, although in these reactions it is written as NADH2 and in another reaction you will see NADPH2, that is not the correct way. It has to be written as NADH plus H plus and NADPH plus H plus. So a reaction which is catalyzed by NADP is the conversion of isocitric acid to oxalosuccinic acid, which is in the citric acid cycle, and alpha ketoglutarate acid to glutamic acid, which we have in the amino acid synthesis. So here you see this is a synthetic reaction where we are synthesizing glutamic acid and NADPH is formed. So as I said, we have to write NADPH plus H plus and NADH plus H plus. That is the correct format for writing. Pantothenic acid, vitamin B5 is found. It is needed to form the coenzyme A, that is CoA, and it is critical. This CoA is very critical in the catabolic reactions and the anabolic reactions of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You will see the glucose will go through the pathway to form acetyl-CoA. Fatty acids are broken down into acetyl-CoA. So it has a central role to play in the metabolism. Deficiencies, again, it says very rare, fatigue, nausea. These are almost common to all the vitamins. The sources of pantothenic acid are beef and pork liver, lean meats, milk, eggs, legumes, whole grains, and most vegetables. So this is the reaction which is catalyzed by acetyl-CoA. If we go back and you see in the acetyl-CoA portion of this is pantothenic acid, and here you have the mercaptoethylamine unit. So you should look at this SH because this is a very reactive sulfhydryl group. So in a reaction, coenzyme A, written in short as CoASH, reacts with the acetyl, the carbonyl carbon, that is the carboxyl group of any acyl compound, and a molecule of water will be removed, and you have the acyl-CoA. It could be acetyl-CoA, it could be glutaryl-CoA, it could be oxoacetyl-CoA. So if acetyl-CoA condenses with oxaloacetic acid, you get citric acid and coenzyme A. So this coenzyme is involved in the transfer of acyl groups, and it is mainly due to the very reactive sulfhydryl group of the cysteamine portion of it. And this bond that forms SO bond, this is called a thioester bond. It is energy rich and can easily transfer the acetyl group to an acceptor. Vitamin B6 or pyridoxine has three forms. It is pyridoxine, okay, or it is pyridoxal, or it is pyridoxamine. And if the pyridoxal is phosphorylated on the OH group, it is called pyridoxal phosphate. So the function is again as a coenzyme, mainly in the transamination reactions, that is in the transfer of amino groups from one moiety to the other. And it is necessary for the formation of hemoglobin and red blood cells. It is required in glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis. We will see this when we look at human nutrition. It serves, as I said, in several enzymes and amino acid transamination. It is important for steroid hormone action. So along with B12, and folate, these three enzymes, that is folate, B12, and B6, are required to maintain normal homocysteine levels in the human body. And homocysteine is a marker of cardiovascular health. The deficiency of B6 generally causes complications of the CVD, nerve damage, and anemia. So therefore, generally, those who are having heart problem or anything, they take supplements of niacin. Um, supplements of pyridoxine. The sources is it is found in beef, fish, and poultry, in eggs, whole grains, and some vegetables. So the transamination reaction is the transfer of an amino group from one amino acid to the other. So pyridoxal phosphate acts as the coenzyme for the transfer of this. So you see the reaction, amino acid 1 to keto acid. The amino group from this amino acid is transferred to this. So you get keto acid 1 and amino acid 2. So an important transaminase reaction in the body is that of catalyzed by two enzymes known as serum glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase or serum glutamate pyruvate transaminase. These two enzymes, SGOT and SGPT, are produced in the liver, and they are important biomarkers to test the functioning of the liver. If there is any increased level in SGOT or SGPT, it is a suggestion of preliminary liver damage. So here, in the case of the SGPT, you have amino acid 1 is alanine, and the keto acid is pyruvate. Now NH2 is transferred to this, and what you get is glutamic acid, and what you get over here, you get glutamic acid and you get alpha keto glutaric acid. Biotin is vitamin B7, or also known as H. It is the only vitamin which contains sulfur. Acyl-CoA is a coenzyme containing sulfur, not a vitamin. So among the vitamins, biotin is the only one which contains sulfur. It is a coenzyme in the metabolism of carbohydrates, especially in the carboxylation reactions. That means in reactions where CO2 is added, it is a coenzyme. So it is found in meat, legume, milk yolk, and a large number of products. So if you look at biotin, this is the structure of biotin. You have the COOH. The coenzymic form of biotin is biocytin, which is carboxybiocitin. So it can transfer this CO2 to the other molecule. The best example is the conversion of pyruvic acid to oxaloacetic acid, where you have a carboxylation or the addition of one carbon. Biotin is found, and it strongly binds to avidin. So if those of you who have been doing your gels, if you're running gels and you're doing anti reactions and you use streptavidin, you will see that it is a reaction, the attraction between biotin and avidin, which is used in those ELISA techniques. Folate is the active form of folic acid, that is steroyl glutamate, which is tetrahydrofolate. It is very essential for normal cell division and for the formation of blood cells. It is important for the normal structure of the nervous system. Its coenzymic form is the tetrahydrofolate, and its coenzymic reactions involve one carbon transfer reactions, where one carbon is transferred in the reaction. It is found in green leafy vegetables mainly, and in liver, yeast extract, and orange juice. So the reactions that are catalyzed by folic acid are the one carbon transfer. So folic acid can is reduced in the presence of NADPH to form dihydrofolate, and it again further reduced to form tetrahydrofolate. Now see here, you have NAD, which is the coenzymic form of niacin. So you have dihydrofolate and you have tetrahydrofolate. The actual vitamin form of this is the pteroyl glutamate, that is the pteridine ring with the para-aminobenzoic acid and glutamic acid. So what are the reactions it catalyzes? So the tetrahydrofolate catalyzes the single carbon transfer reactions. So the conversion of serine to glycine, the transfer of from choline to methylene tetrahydrofolate is used, or you use methanol tetrahydrofolate. One of the major reactions which is there in the uridylate cycle is the reaction catalyzed by serine hydroxymethyl transferase, where the one carbon is transferred from tetrahydrofolate to form hydroxymethyl tetrahydrofolate, and serine is converted into glycine. Actually, now using inhibitors or inhibitors of this enzyme are targeted to prevent cancer, because it is involved in the uridylate cycle. Cyanocobalamin, it's the only vitamin or organic compound which carries cobalt. So a very big vitamin, it has cobalt, which is held together by these tetrapyrrole rings, and it also carries a cyano group on it. So that is why it is known as cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin is very important for the nerve, and you will find that if for any neuronal problems or nerve problems, the vitamin that is given is vitamin B12. Together with folate and B6, it is required to maintain normal blood. Deficiency of vitamin B12 causes an anemia called pernicious anemia, in which the red cells become very large. It can cause neurological damage, and therefore, for the health of the neuron and the nerves, you have vitamin B12 is given as the supplement. The deficiency of vitamin B12 occurs in a large number of vegetarian diets, because the liver is one of the major sources. Vitamin B12 does not exist in the plant system. It is also the only organic molecule known to carry cobalt 6 plus. These are some of the hallmarks of each one, and as analysts and as chemists, you should know all these unique features of the different vitamins. So the deficiency of cobalt is of cyanocobalamin is caused by a lack of the intrinsic factor, that is actually the substance needed for the absorption of vitamin B12 rather than B12 itself. An intrinsic factor is a small glycoprotein. This structure with cobalt with the tetrapyrrole is known as the Cori ring, CORI, and the Nobel Prize was given to a lady for actually crystallizing the vitamin B12 structure. So as a coenzyme, it is involved in the catalysis of intramolecular transfer of converting methyl malonyl CoA to succinyl CoA. So to summarize, we have B1, which coenzymic form is TPP. It is involved in aldehyde or acetyl transfer. Riboflavin coenzyme is FAD, involved in oxidation reduction. Pyridoxine, pyridoxal phosphate, group transfer from amino acids. Nicotinic acid or niacin, NAD and NADP, oxidation reduction. Pantothenic acid, coenzyme A, acyl group transfer. Biotin, biocytin for carboxylation reactions. Folic acid as tetrahydrofolate in the transfer of one carbon. B12 as deoxyadenosylcobalamin, transfer of methyl groups, and ascorbic acid is an antioxidant. So the many roles of vitamins in promoting health as antioxidants, as blood clotting and for blood clotting and red blood synthesis, for bone health, for energy, all the B complex, for growth and reproduction, vitamin A and vitamin D, for immune function, vitamin A, C, and D, for protein metabolism, folate, B6, and B12. This is to summarize in a nutshell the physiological role of vitamins. Now coming to the minerals and trace elements. So what are minerals? These are the inorganic elements which are essential for nutrition. 14 minerals are essential to the body function. They play several key roles. They help in chemical reactions, they help muscles to contract, and they keep the heart beating. The minerals can be divided into two. That's the major minerals, which are required in milligram quantities, and then you have the trace elements, which are required in micro quantities or smaller quantities. So the major minerals, you have to consume at least 100 milligrams per day, and at least 5 grams of mineral in the body there. So these include calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, phosphorus, magnesium, and sulfur. Whereas the trace elements, you need to consume less. That's about 20 milligrams, ranging from milligrams to micrograms. These involve iron, zinc, copper, selenium, chromium, cobalt, iodide, manganese, molybdenum, and fluoride. And you'll find nickel, tin, vanadium, boron, lithium are non-essential. So what is the mineral content in your body? You see, calcium makes up for the major composition of the minerals, followed by phosphorus, then potassium, and then sulfur. So this is to show you how important, which of the minerals is most important to the body, and that is very clearly calcium and phosphorus. So they do not contain carbon, and it is an element. They contain only the elements, and they are most often found as individual ions or in organic compounds. They remain intact during digestion. It's impossible to break a mineral. Generally, they do not change shape or structure. Most minerals are absorbed from the diet, are in the form of water-soluble salts. They are not destroyed by heat, acid, oxygen, or UV, and the availability, mineral bioavailability of it is depends on the ionic status of the mineral. As I said, ferrous 2 plus is more bioavailable or absorbed than Fe 3 plus. So mineral bioavailability, factors that affect the increase the bioavailability are the deficiency of the mineral. Cooking increases the bioavailability of minerals in legumes. Vitamin C increases the absorption of some minerals such as iron. Vitamin D increases the absorption of minerals such as calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. So most of the vitamin D supplements, as I indicated, are given along with calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. What are the factors in food that reduce bioavailability? These are what we call as the anti-nutritional factors. For example, oxalates. Calcium can be chelated by oxalate and not available. Phytates are also present in grains which can chelate calcium, iron, and make them unavailable. Polyphenols also can chelate the minerals and make them unavailable, and supplementation of single affects absorption and of the competing mineral. So the body maintains tight control over the mineral balance. It is the gastrointestinal tract which regulates the mineral absorption, uh, and the minerals in gastric juices and in the intestinal cells are either excreted in the feces or reabsorbed through the large intestine. The kidneys excrete excess and reabsorb the minerals when the body needs them. So transport of the minerals, you will see that most of the minerals require specific proteins for their transfer. So for the absorption and of iron to be transported from one part of the body to the other is the protein transferrin. Albumin transports copper and zinc. The amino acids are transported via copper. Cobalt is transported by cobaltamine, and manganese is transported through the globulins, that is, they are proteins. So normal routes of excretion, copper and manganese main go through the bile, cobalt, chromium go through the urine, zinc goes out through the pancreatic juice because it is an element of the enzyme. Zinc also leaves through the sweat, and mucosal cell slowing has that of iron and zinc. So now let's just run through the major minerals and what is their role. So sodium is the major cation present. The plasma concentration is given. That's not too important. But what is important is what's its role in the body. So a decrease in blood pressure, it decreases decrease in blood pressure and decreases in sodium concentration result in the production of the renin aldosterone production. So very high sodium levels in your body generally accompany when you have high blood pressure. So it is always recommended for high blood pressure patients not to take sodium. One of the reasons of this is that angiotensin converting enzyme, that is the ACE one, which converts angiotensin 1 into 2, requires sodium for this. And so when very high levels of sodium are there, it is converted into angiotensin 2, which is a vasoconstrictor. And because it is a vasoconstrictor, the blood pressure increases. So excessive sodium causes a condition called hypernatremia. Lower amount of sodium causes hyponatremia. It is important in neuron function, but the major role for sodium is through the sodium potassium ATPase pump, because in the cell membrane you will find that sodium will be on one side of the membrane and potassium will be on the other side of the membrane in the fluid, and the ratio between sodium and potassium has to be maintained. So just look at the amount of sodium and where are you getting your sodium from. So you're getting 5% when you're adding salt, which is sodium chloride. You're getting about 6% when you add it while eating because you feel that it is not tasty enough. You get 12% from natural sources because many foods contain sodium. And then another 77% comes when you eat processed and prepared foods. For example, if you're eating potato chips or fries or thing, all of them have the sodium added, because sodium chloride, as you will see, is added as a preservative to prevent microbial growth. So high sodium levels prevent microbial growth by reducing the water activity. So that is why it is suggested do not eat the highly processed or prepared foods because they contain high levels of sodium. So the sodium and what you see on the food, monosodium glutamate, if you're using baking soda, if you're using baking powder, if you're using sodium phosphate, sodium alginate, sodium nitrate, from all these sources you get sodium is added. Potassium, it is the principal cation of the intracellular fluid. Sodium is the principal cation of the extracellular fluid, whereas potassium is the principal cation of the intracellular fluid. Its key role is in skeletal and smooth muscle contraction, and the dietary source is the cellular material that we consume. So just like sodium, you can have hypokalemia and hyperkalemia. And when you have hyperkalemia, what is seen or mimicked is that of having a heart attack. And it is life-threatening to have excess potassium. And excess potassium also leads to swelling of the feet, legs, and the hands. So the potassium levels also have to be maintained. So there should be a balance between the potassium and the sodium levels. And this is generally maintained by what we call as the sodium potassium ATPase pump. Calcium is the mineral which is required, or the element required in very large quantities by the body. It is the major component of bones and teeth. So it is required for healthy bones and healthy teeth. It is also required for clotting of blood, and you find calcium in the cytosol, in the mitochondria, and things. So the serum level of calcium is closely regulated, and you should have about 2 to 2.75. And also it is known that if there is calcium deficiency, what you develop is deformed bones, and also you can have osteoporosis. So calcium metabolism, it's involved in cell signaling, muscle function, blood coagulation, enzyme as a cofactor, membrane and cytoskeletal functions, and in secretion and biomineralization. So the absorption is in the duodenum and the proximal jejunum. It's taken across by active transport. And as I said, the calcium binding proteins are synthesized in response to the action of vitamin D3. So you must take, if you want to see the effects of calcium, you must take vitamin D3, phosphorus, and magnesium. The parathyroid hormone also increases the intestinal absorption of calcium. So calcium metabolism, as we have seen, it is inhibited by oxalates, it is inhibited by phytates, it is inhibited by phosphates, by sodium, and by caffeine. And the oxalates, especially in tomato and many of the brassica, that is the cruciferous vegetables, form calcium oxalate and generate very high levels of calcium and oxalate are a result or result in kidney stones. So the recommended daily amount is about 1,200 to 800. And so in women after menopause, the requirement is about 1,500 milligrams per day osteoporosis. So it is recommended that after the age of 40 or at the onset of menopause, all women take calcium supplements. So deficiency causes hypocalcemia, or you see rickets and osteomalacia in adults. Toxicity very rarely seen, but can cause hyperparathyroidism. Okay, so here is a chart to show you how much of calcium there is in foods. Now you get calcium fortified foods, you get calcium fortified water, so you can get your levels of calcium. But however, one of the best sources of calcium is milk and the dairy products. Phosphorus, a major role in bone health. It's an integral part of nucleic acids, nucleotides. You see, you have DNA and RNA, where you have ribonucleic acid and deoxyribonucleic acid, which are joined together by phosphoric acid. So phosphorus is very important. It is an important component of phospholipids, an important component of phosphoproteins and enzymes that attach phosphates. Then the enzymes which are involved in phosphorus are phosphatases, remove phosphate, pyrophosphatases also remove phosphate, and kinases will add the phosphate to the. So phosphorus is absorbed in the jejunum, and it is again regulated by 1,2,5-dihydroxycholecalciferol, that is vitamin D3. So that shows the rationale of why calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and vitamin D have to be taken together. The deficiency is similar to calcium, where you see rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. Also, you can see abnormality in the blood pattern. Magnesium, nearly 99% of the magnesium is located in bone or the intercellular space. It is the second most plentiful cation of the extracellular food or fluids, the first one being sodium in the extracellular, and in the intracellular it being potassium. Magnesium 2 plus is very important because all the enzymes which involve phosphate transfer and which utilize ATP require the magnesium ion. So once again, this tells you why magnesium, phosphate, vitamin D, and calcium should be taken together. It is required for the integrity of proteins and nucleic acids. It's a cofactor for important enzymes such as ATPase, GTPase, phospholipase C, adenyl cyclase, and guanyl cyclase, a required cofactor for the activity of over 300 other enzymes. It's also a regulator for ion channel. So if you look at the reactions which are catalyzed by kinases, where there is a phosphate transfer, you will always see there is one molecule of ATP, magnesium 2 plus, and a kinase. So the magnesium chelates between the beta and the gamma phosphate group diminishes this and allows the cleavage of this bond and transfer of the phosphate group. We'll skip that. So it has an effect on the central nervous system, similar to calcium, and increased concentration of magnesium causes depression, whereas decreased concentration causes irritability. It also has an effect on the neuromuscular system, just as calcium. The action of increased magnesium on neuromuscular function is antagonized or by calcium. So very low levels of magnesium result in increased acetylcholine release and muscular excitability or tetany. Excess of magnesium causes vasodilation. So copper is an essential nutrient. Rapid growth, it's mainly required in the brain because copper forms a part of the protein called ceruloplasmin, which is a copper dependent peroxidase. And it also is the ceruloplasmin break converts Fe2 plus to Fe3 plus in the GI ion absorption mechanism. The absorption of copper in the GI tract is mainly due to a protein called metallothionein, where the copper will be attached to metallothionein. Copper metabolism, you see, copper is a cofactor of several enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, cytochrome C oxidase, tyrosinase, monoamine oxidase, and lysyl oxidase. So it is required for the functioning of these enzymes. Copper metabolism is altered in inflammation, infection, and cancer. And copper is essential for the production of the interleukins 2 by activated lymphocytes. Then coming to iron, iron is one of the most important elements whose deficiency has a large impact on your hemoglobin, and it causes anemia. Too little iron, you have, if you do not have enough iron and you're anemic, you will not be able to take in enough oxygen. That is because if you look at the structure of hemoglobin, you know that hemoglobin is made of iron, and iron is mainly required for this. So here iron is chelated by 4 pyrrole rings and held with hemoglobin. So the major role of iron is to transport oxygen in the body, and so therefore it's very, very important. And there are two types of iron. One is the organic iron and the other is the inorganic iron. When I say organic iron, it doesn't mean that it has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It means that it is coming from an organic source, and that is heme iron. And heme iron is found to be the most bioavailable form of iron, available in red meats, liver, poultry, and eggs. However, vegetarians would not like to take heme iron. They have to take the non-heme iron, which is found in the plant products. However, the bioavailability of the non-heme iron is very low because most of the non-heme iron is in the form of Fe3 plus, and for it to be absorbed, it must be converted into Fe2 plus. However, for the vegans, good sources of iron are dried fruits such as raisins, dates, dry dates, and other dry nuts, which are a good source of iron. So the major function is oxygen transport. We have seen that. Food iron is predominantly in Fe3 plus. Apoferritin assimilates up to 4,300 ferric molecules to form the storage protein. So iron can be stored in the body as ferritin, and ferritin provides iron to the body, and the apotransferrin, the protein that can bind 2 atoms of iron to form transferrin. So iron is stored, you will find, in the liver. So that is why in the liver, that is, animal sources of liver are very high concentrated sources of iron. So factors that influence iron absorption, there are many inhibitors in the food which prevent iron from being absorbed. There are phytates, tannins, laundry starch, iron overload, antacids. The competitors for iron absorption are lead, cobalt, strontium, magnesium, and zinc. And those which facilitate iron absorption are ascorbic acid, citric acid, amino acids, and of course, iron deficiency. Molybdenum is a part of the metalloenzymes xanthine oxidase, and aldehyde oxidase, and sulfite oxidase. There is some evidence that molybdenum can interfere with cobalt metabolism. Selenium is an integral component of glutathione peroxidase. It's a scavenger of peroxides and it is essential for immune function. So, selenoproteins, just like sulfoproteins, selenium catalyzes oxidation reduction reactions. The content of selenium is highly dependent upon the soil type. So it is very difficult to say which food is high in selenium and which food is low in selenium, because it depends on the soil that it is grown in. Manganese is required because it's present in the mitochondria. It is an enzyme, the cofactor which is required for the activation of glycosyl transferases, the enzymes responsible for the synthesis of oligosaccharides and glycoproteins. It is required for enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, and hydrolases, kinases, and decarboxylases. Zinc is a component of metalloenzymes. Earlier, zinc was considered as a heavy metal contaminant, but it has been removed from the list of heavy metal contaminants. It is a component of several enzymes, carbonic anhydrase, which is responsible for removing the carbon dioxide that is brought to the lungs, lactate dehydrogenase, glutamate dehydrogenase, alkaline phosphatase, thymidine kinase, and matrix metalloproteases. And the protein in the saliva, which plays a major role in taste, contains zinc. Gustin, the protein contains zinc. So zinc deficiency has serious consequences, and now because of this, zinc fortification also is being uh, uh, popularized, because it several studies have shown that zinc is required for brain development, and so therefore zinc is uh, being food is being fortified with zinc. So deficiencies are failure in the metabolism of nucleic acids. There, there's growth retardation. There may be hypogonadism, gastrointestinal, and neuropsychiatric thing. But zinc deficiency is marked by poor growth and impairment of sexual development. Chromium is required for glucose metabolism to regulate as a component of glucose tolerance factor. Iodine is important because it forms a part and parcel of the thyroid hormone, that is triiodothyronine and the triiodotyrosine. And iodine is absorbed in an inorganic iodine form. And so if you know, or all of you should know, that all the salt in India, it is mandatory to fortify it with iodine. So non-iodized salt is banned from being sold. However, you still find it in the market. So the iodized salt that is being sold in the market must have a minimum of 15 parts per million of iodine. So at the manufacturing state, the iodine content will be 30 ppm, but at the retailer, it should not go down below 15 ppm. The reason being is iodine is an element which is sublimes. So how many of you recollect or know what sublimation is? So it goes directly from the solid to the vapor, and so that is why this higher levels of iodine. Now you also get double fortified salt. which is fortified with iodine and fortified with iron, so that because in India we have got iron deficiency, anemia, and it is felt that through fortification of salt, this can be rectified. Fluorine is important for the teeth also, but however, very high amount of fluorine causes fluorosis. Boron is also an element which is required for thing, because it has some influence on the metabolism, and it inhibits some key enzymes in the metabolic pathway. And some of the others, vanadium, control of the sodium pump, tin, interaction with riboflavin, lithium, there is interference with the lipid metabolism, silicon plays a structural role in the connective tissue, and nickel is a component of the enzyme urease. So minerals can be toxic if ingested in high amounts, but however, they are rare. Once again, if you look at the recommended daily allowance, the amount of minerals is given and the upper tolerance limit also is provided. Toxicity most often is seen with large amounts of supplements or over addiction to food supplements, certain conditions that interfere with the body's adaptive thing. Toxicity not generally seen from excessive dietary intake. Toxicity only is seen with excessive food supplement intake. So thank you.